I don't know if you were a fan of Transformers Cyberverse or not. At first I wasn't, but it really grew on me, and one of the kind of core characters, one of the most engaging characters, was Shadowstriker, the female Decepticon car who ended up being a hodgepodge of parts and pieces. Well, in the Legacy Evolution line, we are getting an iteration of that character, and it's this. She might not necessarily be the Shadowstriker that we wanted, but maybe she's the Shadowstriker that we need. I'll explain what I mean in the latest GotBot True review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Yeah, hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, you can hit the join button at any given time, man, and become a channel member. And this is the Legacy Evolution Shadowstriker. Couple of things that I'll talk about when we come back that I actually don't mention in the review. I will note right now I actually have her car part on her back, but I'll talk about that when we get back. She is a weird hodgepodge amalgamation of really two continuities, but neither one of them is actually a G1-ified version. It's a bit of a weird story, so without any further ado, how about we head over to the table and take a closer look at this girl. And coming hot off the heels of looking at an Autobot female Transformer being strong-arm, we now look at a Decepticon female Transformer by the name of Shadowstriker. Although, depending on the fiction you follow, she may have been named Night Racer in another universe. She may have been named Silhouette in another universe, so to speak. I can't say in another universe, that's wrong. And had things fallen differently. I'll get to it in a few minutes when we talk about her, because she is a weird hodgepodge for sure. But before we look at her, we have to look at the packaging first. And this is Shadowstriker's packaging with her car mode, which I think is probably a little bit stylized from her car mode in RID 2015. No, wrong, Cyberverse. I feel like that might be a little more sleeker than what we get here, but you know what, this isn't bad. Like, I don't have anything really against it, and I do like the more cohesive color than her hodgepodge mess that she was. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. On this side over here, we have her robot mode and a close-up of her face. Over here we have the usual Legacy Evolution artwork, and on the back we have the product images. Her Evo Fusion thing is really the RID sideburn thing where you take her blaster and you put the bumper in it, you know, to look like the missile launchery thing. Oh, you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. And if you don't, look up sideburn. You'll see what I mean. Oh, we got us some instructions, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. They really did try to cover everything with nice big images that she's able to do and where all of her accessories can go, because there's multiple possible configurations. Here's her Evo Fusion foolishness. You'll also notice that there's a little peg here. That's for storage, which I'll show in a moment, but this is, yeah, this is her Evo Fusion thing. And here we have her in all of her glory, weighing in at 71 grams of plastic. She is a little light for a deluxe, although the fembots typically are. She does, however, have a bit of a bonkers transformation and a heck of a parts count that I've got to give credit to. I would be remiss if I didn't. She can hold her, well, she can put this whole roof shield on her left arm or her right arm, either one. They have 5mm ports, 5mm ports on both. She can also do the same with her bumper piece. I put it on that arm, but I mean, that's whatever. She can hold her blaster as like a melee swordy thing, or she can hold it as a blaster, or if you're so inclined and you don't want her to have it at all, you can come to the back here, and under this wing, I'm going to call it, there's a little rounded peg. It's not 5mm. That weird little peg that I mentioned on the side allows you to take this and kind of hide it up under her cape. for lack of a better term. I'll also note that there's a peg back here. If you wanted to take the roof off of the arm and peg it on her back, you could certainly do that. I didn't find that that peg was, or peg hole I should say, and peg connection was the tightest. I found that it was fairly easy to knock it out, but to be fair, I didn't try to necessarily push it in all the way. It could probably collapse a bit further than what I had it. I thought that I was going to detest the roof on the arm a lot more than I do. Honestly, it really doesn't interfere with any of the articulation at all. Why does she look like this? She looks like this because she's an amalgamation of her look and coloration from Cyberverse. In fact, she has the Cyberverse head. I don't know if this is her battle damaged head or if she had like that monocle eye before she got all damaged and stuff back on Cybertron. Here's the thing. We have two other official versions of her. One is like a little half thing that transforms. The other is a block that was, I think, Warrior class or Ultra class or some nonsense like that that's not good. Neither of them are like her beat up, hodge-podge, you know, Autobot X mishmash mix of parts. They are both like her Cybertronian pre-damaged look, which is, I think, what this is kind of going for as well. At least in terms of the uniformity of color. That said, even with that uniformity of color, like, you know, we have the indigos, we have the silvers, and we have the reds. We are missing like a lot of, I'm going to call it light blue apps, which is unfortunate. But the body itself, if we look at it, is obviously RID sideburn, right? And I don't think anybody's going to argue that. That, however, is an homage to a black version, actually a black and blue version with some goldy yellowness and a gold face. And it's a version from Universe 2003-2004 line. Part of the Transformers Collector Club, if I'm not mistaken, 2-pack, her and her sister Roulette. And they saw the Marauders, I think they were called, led by Cannonball, a Decepticon group that swept through and basically killed their third sister, and the two of them end up getting pretty dark, right? So this is a mix of that RID 2001 and Cyberverse iterations kind of jammed together. Ironically, a lot of these stylized looks have been what's been called a G1ified version of a character. In this case, we actually have more of a RID 2001ified version of Cyberverse Shadowstriker. It's a mess. But what does that mean for her first score? Her look. I mean, you're not going to really mistake it Shadowstriker because they did nail the head. But outside of the head, if that wasn't there, you'd never know that this is Shadowstriker. I give it a 10 for the head. I think the head is spot on, but I'm only giving it like a 4 or 5 for the body because it ain't right. That said, I think the alt mode is pretty right, and I think the color is pretty right. I would rather this than like the black and blue version that I don't really know, right? This is closer, certainly the more popularized version that most of us fans would know, right? So I'm going to overall give it about a 7. I'm being very generous there and making a lot of allowances, I know, trust me. I suppose it's also worth pointing out, you know, here she is next to another deluxe being Alita, just because I had her on hand, and you know, she's fine for a deluxe, you know, she fits in with the deluxes, fine enough. Okay, so not a great start because of the look being a bit of a hodgepodge, but I don't hate it. I actually really like the look of the red and the indigo. And while I'm saying a 7, I am being generous. The articulation, the head goes left, right, little up and down, the arms go forward. They can go a little back, but they're connected to like this hinge and stuff back here, so they're not going to be able to go all the way around. They can, however, go way up over her head, which is cool. Elbow to 90 degrees, bicep swivel, wrist rotation. This arm over here, if you're wondering how the shield affects it, I mean, you can lift it up, right? So like all the way out, you know, way up again, right? If I wanted to bring it back, I could bring it all the way up over her head. Still, bicep or elbow to 90 degrees, bicep swivel, wrist rotation. You can access all of it on this arm as well. Putting the arms out to the side, we do have the pieces back here that come up, which allow for a full waist rotation, which I love. Legs forward, legs really all the way back. Full splits out to the side. Thigh swivel, knee to 90 degrees, ankle tilt, and you can see how big her feet are. She is super duper solid. I dig it. I'm for, and like, I don't even have both of her feet down there. She still stands like a champion. There's no pose I can't get. I thought that I was going to be hindered by the articulation a lot more, and you know what, to be fair, I looked at Sideburn, the original Sideburn, some time ago. That review was in episode 921. It was on loan, so unfortunately I can't show it next to this guy. Actually, it was the Super Sideburn, so it was the red one. And I like that, but I'm not going to lie. There are times that the articulation is indeed hindered. This is a nice update, and honestly, when it gets redone as Sideburn, I think it's going to be an excellent Sideburn update. I don't know if I'm necessarily in it for a Sideburn, but we'll see. So a 7 for the look, for the articulation a 10. Overall, right now she's getting like an 8.25 or so, right? 8.5, I guess. 8.5, I guess. Now we're going to do the transformation, and the transformation is involved, interesting. I don't want to say sort of fiddly. I'll explain it as we're going through, okay? So let's get into it without any further ado. First, I'm going to turn the head around. I don't know if you have to, but I do find it better if you do. The arms I take out to the side for now, and I pick off the entire back section right here. I straighten this up. This is a tight, scary tight hinge, and I need to straighten up the whole thing. I'm going to also remove the blaster from back here so that they can come down. Obviously, I'm gone off screen. I'm going to readjust things so that we can see the full expansion of Shadowstriker. Okay, so, like I said, this pinned hinge, it was very tight on mine. Both of these are pegged in back here. It's easy to close them up and not peg them in. When you peg them in, they're tight. You just heard that snap. And I'm going to take the bumper piece off. And I'm going to leave this all the way out to the side. Again, over here, you're probably going to hear a snap. It's tight, man. Oh, man. There you go. There's the snap. Leave that open out to the side. Okay. So now we're going to leave all that top for now like that. We're going to come here and we're going to open out her pelvis, not her pelvis, her entire torso, and bring these pieces out. Then we bring up this piece. At first, when I brought it up, it only came to there and then it stopped. You need to push it beyond that all the way up. It will do a little snap into place, and it should be all nice and flush like that. Then we have the legs here, and these are interesting. So we're going to bring up the feet like this. Now, this whole piece comes down over the front, and then these legs will have to come up here on the side. It should all be flush. The first time I formed her, I didn't have it all the way flush. Position all of this flush first, and then you're going to push the legs in on these little rectangular tabs on either side. It's a little bit of a nuisance because after you get all that done, then you need to use a rectangular slot on the foot and put it over a tab up underneath. It's a lot to coordinate, but I'm going to give it a try here for you guys. We bring that down, we bring that up all the way, we bring that up all the way. Bring that up all the way. Okay, now that I got those up, I'm going to attempt, assuming I got everything lined up here, to snap in the legs. And I'm going to tell you now, you need to put in a fair amount of force. I do it at the tires here and push it in, and both of them will snap in over those rectangular tabs. If you don't hear the snap, then they're not all the way in and not lined up. And it's crucial that they are. Once you have that done, now you should have the 2 feet lined up with the top here quite well. That one's not quite going in. This is the pain with this. Okay, I think I got it now. Give me a second. I'm going to do a cut because I want to make sure that I got the feet in the way they should be. And you can see right here, this one is not. Let me just get that lined up. Very minor adjustment, but along the back needs to be like perfectly straight like that. Underneath needs to be like this. Okay, now that we've got everything straightened up, we can close in these doors and they tab in on the two sides. They should tab in nice and squared off. Rolls like a champion even already. Then we bring down this arm to the inside, and we're going to do the same with this arm. Now, when we do so, we have two purple tabs back here, and up front we have two more purple tabs up here. Underneath here we have a number of translucent rectangular slots that need to go down over all four of those. It is a bit of a nuisance to do, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to try and get it on there now as best as I can for you. But it's probably going to want to come off. Also, I'll point this out now too. The bumper piece goes in this slot here and over these two. But again, it's a bit of a nuisance to do. So I'm going to just put that on there. Now, a lot of the time, I think I'm just going to leave it like this. Because, honestly, trying to get it on over both of those bumper pieces can be a chore and a nuisance. That's not totally straightened up. This is not totally on and straightened up because I just popped the door. But basically, and I'm going to give this a squeeze and then we'll look at the alt mode. But basically, this is the alt mode. Boom, done. I'm going to say the transformation because it is so precise. It's not fiddly. It gets easier the more you do it, but because it's so precise, I can see how it will definitely frustrate some people. I'm going to give the transformation overall. Oh, by the way, this goes... Oh man, this goes up there on the roof. That's where you're stored. I'm going to give the transformation about a 8.5, right? She was already getting an 8.5. I think the transformation is also about an 8.5. She does roll like a champ. Let me give everything a final squeeze so that we can actually see this the way it's supposed to be. And with everything given like a final squeeze together because of how specific this transformation needs to be accomplished, here we finally have Shadowstriker in her alt mode. And it's all right. It actually looks a lot like a Viacon alt mode if you ask me. It doesn't exactly look like RID Sideburn, but I can easily see doing some simple remolding of the doors or the roof or something to give more of that RID feel, right? She's such a weird hodgepodge, but this is the way she should look in the end. I do love the red paint on the wheels there. I don't even mind the purple clips in the center. I love the purpley, indigo-y color. I love all of the detailing up here, even if it's not RID 2015, but rather more like her, I guess her like universe counterpart, right? That 2-pack that I talked about earlier. She rolls like a champion, even though there's not much clearance underneath. I mean, underneath it's not visible robot or anything. Like, it looks like it could be a car, you know? Like, it's a lot there. The one thing that's, I think, I don't want to say it's an eyesore. It's kind of an eyesore, but it's definitely the hardest part to deal with is this piece back here. You have a gap here, and then you're just gonna have a gap there. That's the way it is. It's not egregious, but it is weird. It's almost like it's there for, I don't know, air to go through or something, like an intake or some sort of thing like that. Getting this piece on over both of the rectangular tabs and in the circular slot for my copy was Herculean. In the future, when I transform her, I won't worry about getting this in exactly as perfect as that. I'm just going to worry about pushing it in as, you know, as I think most people will. The big trick, the big key is going to be to make sure that you have this roof all perfectly squared up and lined up. If it ain't, the whole thing ain't going to work. It's as simple as that. Overall, I think that she's quite good. Is she perfect? No. Is she the Shadowstriker that everybody wanted? Probably not. But considering the previous offerings that we had for this character, who was quite prominent in Cyberverse, and those other offerings, let's be realistic, pretty lackluster. I mean, a little Cyberverse thing that half transformed that was probably like a legend size with limited articulation. And then don't get me started on the warrior class chunk. At least this one is well articulated and whatnot. Whether you want to call her pre-being destroyed, even though her head looks like the destroyed head that she had when she was a hodgepodge mess. Whether you want to call her the earlier universe iteration or what. This, as good as it is, as imperfect as it is the first fully functional iteration of RID 2015 Shadowstriker we've had. And while she's not perfect, she is going to be good enough for my collection, maybe good enough for yours, I don't know. And if you're going to pass her over and wait for the sideburn version of the mold, I would imagine that that will be all of the same successes and all of the same difficulties that this one has. Make of that whatever you will. And here we are, and here she is, and like, I like her, fine enough. Her transformation, very specific. Maybe a little too specific, and might be frustrating until you get the hang of it. Specifically, the feet have to tab in back here, and these two, when they're folded out, this back end has to be straight if you have any chance of the bumper going on. The roof section has to be perfectly straight on the top. So it is a little fiddly in that regard. I'll note this too, there's a weird little tab just above the knee that the knee does lock into. Out of package, this leg was locked. The hinge isn't frozen. I just had to untab the leg. So note that when you get yours. The transformation otherwise is very interesting and unique. In terms of the body and the look, had we gotten the universe color scheme with the black and blue and gold, I wouldn't have liked it. I would have said, who is that? That's not the Shadowstriker I know. This head I know. This color I know. And I think that's why they went with it, because it's the more popularized. It was very risky to mix Cyberverse with really RID 2001. It's not G1ified, but it is a very unique take in and of itself. I like her, even if she is definitely stylized. Do you like her? Will you get her? Will you get a later version of this mold? Because I think it's kind of worth it. Let me know what you think about Shadowstriker here. You know, oh, by the way, this, I can push this all the way in. It doesn't sit flush, so it still sort of wiggles, but it goes in on the back here, no problem. And yeah, when you push it in all the way, it is quite solid. Yeah, let me know what you think about Shadowstriker. Do you like her? Do you not like her? I like her more than I thought I was going to. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course you can hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, man, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel. And especially don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.